What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs, and today I'm going to talk about 3 of my favorite design books.
Dreadlabs.
Alright, so like a lot of you probably, I do own a fair amount of design books, or at least a lot of books that give me inspiration. I'm not the most avid reader in the world, but I do like a lot of visual references that I use in my work on a daily or weekly basis. So I thought let's start a video series on where I showcase a couple of books, talk a little bit about them, and I'll also put a link for a book in the description of every video, so if you want to get it for yourself, there will be a link down in the description. Right, so the first book that I'm going to talk about is Brand by Hand by Contino. So this is a book by the graphic designer Contino. He's a New York-based designer and he's known for his lettering and illustration style. He has worked for Nike, Hulu, the Chicago White Sox, among a lot of other high-profile clients. So I got this book because I listened to his podcast, The Nose Knows. It's not really that active anymore, I think, but it was one of my favorite podcasts at the time, and I decided to buy this book. So this book is about his career path, and he talks about a lot of his influences and inspiration, as well as the course of his design career. So the thing contains a lot of sketches, unfinished work, as well as case studies, which I find really interesting because it's always really nice to see the progress of a certain design. And this is also something that Contino talks a lot about in his podcast, and that's that the design can be really beautiful, but only seeing the end result is nice, but seeing the whole process of how you got there makes it a lot more special. So I would highly recommend this book if you like hand lettering and illustration. So again, if you want to get this book, there's a link down in the description. Alright, moving on to the next one, and that's actually 2 books. They're really big. So these are the History of Graphic Design Volume 1 and Volume 2. Particularly, my preference goes out to Volume 2. But basically the first volume is about the history of graphic design from 1890 until 1959. And the second volume goes from 1960 until today, and this book was published in 2018, I think, so it misses a couple of the past years, but nonetheless is a really interesting book. So a very cool thing about these books is that it contains a lot of inspiration throughout history, so you can really see what a certain zeitgeist had in a certain era. And something else that I really like about this is that this contains a lot of design work from all over the world, so you can also see a lot of different cultures and the influence of those cultures on design in its age. Something that I also think is really cool is that they take a closer look at certain designers from certain countries or eras, as well as certain agencies. So you have these little highlight pages where you can either see a timeline of what's going to happen in that decennium, but also some pages that highlight a certain agency, talk a little bit about their work, and also showcase a little bit more of their works. And it's actually how I got interested in Warp Records, which is one of the labels in the late 90s from England, I think, that contain a lot of cool album artwork. So yeah, I would highly recommend these books because they have a lot of reference material, as well as a lot of inspiration that you can use in your work today. Alright, so the third book and final book of this video is called Indie Type. Indie Type is a book that contains a lot of different typography inspiration, and it's mostly based around this last era. So this book was published in 2019, or at least the edition that I have, and it contains a lot of different typography inspiration. They talk about foundries to certain fonts, and it contains a lot of fonts that I find a lot of inspiration from, and even fonts that I bought for myself. It's also really cool that you can see the application of certain typography as well, you know, like see how certain fonts is used on a certain branding instead of just displaying the font in all letters. So yeah, this is a very nice book for reference material, and a cool part about this is that it also contains some fonts that are even free to download. So for example, a font called Soulcraft, which is featured in this book, I have been using a lot of different projects already, and it's just free to download. So yeah, a lot of inspiration, and also I just think this cover and the book itself is beautifully designed, as you can see here. And the nice part is that this has a blue lining on the back here, which is really nice because, as you can see, this is just the edge of the page. Like the pages are white, but then the very point is blue, which makes this cover look really nice. Alright, so here are 3 books from my book collection as a designer. If you want to see more, leave a comment down below, leave a like on this video. If you want to get the books for yourself, there's a link down in the description, of course. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys if you want to see more of these books in the future, because I have a large collection that I would like to share with you. Alright, so before we end the video, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Thanks to all of my patrons, I'm actually able to make these videos for you guys and keep up the free weekly videos. So if you don't know, if you become a patron of mine, you'll get access to all of the project files from all of my tutorials, a 15% discount in my asset web store, as well as an exclusive Discord role. If you go 1 tier up, you'll also get access to exclusive content such as a tutorial on how to make death metal graphics, a video series on how to start your own clothing brand, and much more. So if this is something you're interested in, there's a link down in the description, and if you don't have the budget to support Dreadlabs that way, it's of course completely fine. Leaving a like, subscribing, and comment if you haven't already does a lot. So with all of that being said, this was Tom from Dreadlabs tuning out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.